Hello, it's me, Bill, again, and apologies for that ill-fated take one. This is take two. I got feedback from Rich that there was no sound before. So if you're hearing me, give me a thumbs up. That'll be terrific. And, you know, I'm Bill Patton, and I'm going to talking practical neuroscience number 2. But before we go any further, I want to give a little, do a little house cleaning. All right, a couple of announcements. Number 1, I am going to be going live every Tuesday around 10 o'clock. So technical difficulties notwithstanding, I will be going live every week at least once, and probably try to give, another 1 or 2 hours of lead time if I'm about to go live, so that you can, schedule in, see if you want to do that. But today, present, which is really at the core of a lot of the new thoughts, new discoveries about practical neuroscience and mindfulness training and things like that. So I just got a like from Ray, so I'm assuming that Ray can hear me okay. So if you can hear me, put I can hear you, because I didn't have audio in the last one. The other announcement is that I recently decided not to coach at a particular school, even though it was pretty high profile, very prestigious and whatnot. And that after an ill-fated 90-minute meeting with a parent who made me realize that it was going to drive me nuts. So I've decided to be the boys and girls coach at Monte Vista High School in Spring Valley, where I have a 12-court facility, and I'm building up programs out of school hours. So anyway, those are the announcements. But I have to share that when I was a kid, I was known as being a notorious daydreamer. I happened to be pretty much elsewhere. And, at family gatherings, or in school, or in places where I was supposed to be productive and paying attention, my mind was on other things. I was thinking about the weekend, future or past. I was thinking about, what would I rather be doing than this? And, and that leads to a lot of distraction and not a lot of success, obviously. So it's very frustrating for the people around me, as you might imagine. And yet people really do carry this sort of distracted way of living into their adult life. And I know I did for many years. And I'm working really hard to be not quite so distracted. And, so I want to be fully present with you here. I hope that you are fully present with me. And if you have any questions or comments, drop those in there, and I will try to work those answers in. But so the number one issue when it comes to attention and attending and being there, being fully there, is plasticity, brain plasticity. Because, one thing that happens with these things, those are my credit cards. I shouldn't show those, but here, that's safer, is, you get on your Instagram, especially, right? Instagram, TikTok, and you're like, oh, there's a cool one, then there's another cool one, then there's another cool one. And what ends up happening is it's a state of perpetual distraction. So you're moving very quickly. You're not fully attending to any one of those things, but you move from one thing to the next. And then you train your brain to be fully distracted. And I have to admit, I've been on a pretty good run lately of, up until a couple days ago. It was a pretty good run of being fully present. But a couple things knocked me off balance there. So I had a big birthday that ends in a 0, and I had some drama with my team, and I had this and I had that, and there were some things kind of set me off balance there a little bit. So this is part of why I'm, having this talk is it's partly like a little self-therapy for me, So like, so for instance, today, I like to read for about a half an hour every day. And yet every time I've been sitting down to read for the last few days, I start thinking about other stuff. So I actually have to go, okay, I'm thinking about other stuff. So I'm going to get up, I'm going to take a break. I'm going to go do a few things, and I'm going to come back and I'm going to read. And, having a practice of reading for 25 to 30 minutes a day is really a great way to develop those moments of full presence. One of the hardest things to pay attention to, because the words don't move. So, probably having a conversation, listening to somebody is more fun because you get a different sensory input, right? But another way that this works out is socially, so in some sort of social situations, some of you are like at a conference right now, and you're going to be talking to somebody and you want their full attention, and yet they're looking around the room, or maybe you're the one doing that, looking around the room, okay, for somebody better to talk to, right? And they're like, oh, hold on. And then they go in, you're like right in the middle of a conversation. You're like, what's that all about? So what you will find is that, for me anyway, my best friends, mentors, influential people in my life are the ones who are willing to sit down and, give their full attention to me, and me a conversation. It's really a big thing. But people get to these big events, and there's so many distractions because there's so many people, and you have to have some skills to be able to get around that, right? So maybe there's somebody you really need to meet up with, and you go, hey, I need to talk to you later, that whole thing. So now when we break it down, we put it into our work, right? So we're going into work, especially coaches, and you're theoretically, your mind is 100% on your student. But we often know that it's not always that way. You're thinking about something else, right? You get a notification on your phone. Things happen. Somebody calls you during the middle of the lesson. And, managing that's really, really important. Unfortunately, some coaches take calls and text people in the middle of a lesson, and that's pretty off-putting. On the other hand, we need a little balance because, if my next lesson is texting me to say that they're running 10 minutes late and they need a little reassurance, I'm going to tell my student right now, hey, I just got this emergency test, so I hope you don't mind. I need to respond to those people and put their mind at ease, right? And then it's over. Then we're back, right? One thing that's interesting as a high school coach is the fact that you have to watch multiple matches at the same time. And this is one of like the heartbreaking things. It's like, coach, did you see that shot? It was amazing. You would have been so proud of me. And I was like, no, it's 3 courts down. Sorry about that. But, part of the success that I've had as a high school coach, as a team coach, is making sure that all of my attention is on as many matches as I possibly can and seeing everything that I can see. So now, what are the enemies of being fully present, right? Distractions, right? Something that gets your attention that goes over there, like a butterfly or a bee on the court or an airplane in the sky or or a commotion in the neighborhood. Lots of different things can come up, or a parent on the court who's talking when they shouldn't be, or the it's endless, the potential problems that can come up. So how do we graciously, gracefully, put those things to bed. I mean, sometimes there's something like, there's like an amazing thing with birds flying over and they're like, hundreds of them. And we have to stop and we're going, okay, we're going to take a bird break, right? Because we can't ignore it. So we might as well enjoy it for a moment. All right. So, or there's something going on over there. All right, everybody, let's look over there. Okay, tell me when you've seen enough of what's happening there. Right. And then the kids go, yeah, okay, I've seen it. All right, let's go back to tennis. Right. And, then if we're thinking about sort of the time-space continuum of our minds, then another one is thoughts of the future or thoughts from the past. So if those things apply to the present, that's fine. If they can be applied right now, that's good. Like, I mean, I think it's fine to say, hey, I have a vision for that in the, what kind of work are we going to do right now to get that done? Right. Or in the past, you have made this mistake and that's fine. I accept you just as you are. But now we're going to work on mitigating that mistake. We're going to work on helping you, get over that and minimize that error in your game that pops up again and again. The problem comes when people are holding on to the past. I see most errors, especially in the lessons, coming from two places. One is holding on to a past error and trying too hard to make up for a past error, which you can't do. If you made an error, it was made and it's in the annals of time and it's gone, right? But you can work on avoiding making that same mistake again, or you can start to refine what you do. That you can do, but carrying it forward and sort of having this sort of feeling like you need to redeem yourself, is difficult. There was a sports writer that I was friends with, and he was covering my team, and we would see each other once every couple of weeks. He'd come out to tennis matches and write about our team. And then I would read his other articles in the newspaper. And then one of them, he was like, so-and-so redeems themselves. He used the word redeem quite a bit. And I'm like, you know what, Steve, there's no such thing as redemption in sports. Because if you lost before, right, then you still lost. If you win this time, it didn't change the other one. And if you gave up a walk, right, and then you struck the next guy out, that didn't redeem the walk. You still put somebody on base. I mean, it's like, so there's this really strange notion in sports that you can redeem things, but you can't. I mean, you can do better, right? You can do better. That's all. All right. Then the other thing that happens is, and let's go a little deeper into the past. Sometimes people, because of other things in their lives, they're dealing with some frustrations, or they've been trained, they've been parented in a way that's very shame-based, that sort of their persona is that they always feel like they're not good enough and they have to try harder, and every mistake they make is like a reinforcement of how not good they are. So, helping a person like that gain confidence by helping them to do things better and do them more consecutively and all that can be a gateway for them to gain more confidence in their lives. So this is an amazing opportunity to influence people for the better and help them to grow as people beyond the sporting arena. So, but the other thing that happens is people are in too big of a rush to the future. So every error they make feels like a delay in progress. Why can't I do it yet? And I've seen people sort of spin out of control in a lesson where it's like, okay, we're doing a simple thing. And, you know, if they just can chill, if they can just be fully present, then they're going to get it sooner. But because they're trying so hard to make it happen immediately, every screw, like, oh man, I should have had this by now. And they put themselves under tremendous pressure and frustration. And then pretty soon they're going down the tubes and it's starting to look impossible. So this is where I use this line that I really love from Lily Tomlin, right? So Lily Tomlin was a comedian who was probably most famous in the 60s, 70s, maybe the 80s. I don't know. I don't keep track of these things. But Lily Tomlin, really funny, very funny person. And she had a very wise quote. She said, if trying harder isn't working, try softer. And that has worked with a lot of people, you know. So, you know, just if you're just fully present with what you're doing, and you're not in too big of a rush, because I find, especially on a tennis court, that a lot of people are very early on their shots, and it's just because they don't have the patience to wait for the ball to get there for them to hit it. So, and they're in such a big hurry to perfect a certain technique that, you know, any one or two, you know, lesser examples, lesser efforts on like one or two shots, you know, has them feeling like a failure. And I'm like, no, just give it some time. I mean, you're clear on the concept. Now you just have to practice until you kind of refine it and understand it better. Which brings us to the basal ganglia, which, wow, how did we get there? So this is where I differ dramatically from, say, the talent code, Daniel Coyle. And do yourself a favor, go on Amazon, look up the talent code, and read the 1-star reviews. Because there's a 1-star review there that should be its own book. It's pretty awesome. And so the problem with the muscle memory people, the myelin people, is that there's too much emphasis on perfection, and there's too much emphasis on how many times does it take to become effective at something. And so new research has shown that the basal ganglia actually plays a much stronger role in learning than myelin, right? So now, and really the most practical way of thinking about it is that it is far more important to be clear on the concept than it is to perfect the movement. And in fact, not too long ago, Dave Fish, former Hall of Fame coach at Harvard, turned me on to a guy named Rob Gray, who does movement studies at Arizona State University. And he was talking about how actually attempting perfect motion repetitively is bad for you because it leads to overuse injuries. So that kind of throws a shiver in the whole myelin thing, because I think what people wrongly do when they talk about muscle memory is they talk about perfecting a motion and making it so habitual that it's the exact same every time with no variance. And that leads to overuse injuries. So part of what helps defeat the whole trying to get the future to come to what I need to be is clear on the concept and practice and start to understand, what is the concept? What am I trying to do? And accept some outlier behaviors. Like even somebody who's a very gifted tennis player who can hit amazing kick serves is going to every once in a while hit one off the edge of the frame, and it's going to go into the crowd. Go ahead, go look on YouTube for Federer's best mishits. I mean, I think one of the funniest things is when Federer like completely missed shots and framed them, and they went right, and then he's like nonplussed. He just goes on and plays the next point, amazingly well. So these are the kinds of things that people need to be able to understand, is that there's some variability to everything. And then, one of the most endearing things about Federer, especially when he was, under 30, was, he would hit like this amazing shot that would just stun everyone in the crowd. And he would kind of he would kind of look at his racket, and it's like he was non-verbally communicating. Wait, what? Did I do that? And so, those top athletes, I think, feel a real sense of privilege, that they're able to perform these amazing feats. And I think Federer has said numerous times that he felt it was an amazing privilege to be able to, have the opportunities that he had, and to live in the body that he has that's capable of doing these things. And I think many people really appreciated watching that artistry, and I think the same's true, the same sentiment. I think many of the top players of any sport would agree with that sentiment. So, all right. So here's what I want you to do. Next time you're in a conversation with somebody, stop to see if you're, thinking about something else other than what they're talking about. And maybe it's what you're going to say next. So just hold off on what you're going to say next and really listen to what they're saying. And then you can avoid putting your foot in your mouth. Number 2, have some kind of mindfulness training that you do, whether it's sitting and reading a book for 30 minutes or just sitting quietly with a notepad and journaling for 10, 15 minutes or whatever. People like to meditate. Other people pray. Those are really good mindfulness exercises. And then, when you're in your field, when you're doing your thing, then, get in touch with, okay, am I fully present now? Am I thinking about something that's going to happen in the future? Is my student doing that? Are they stuck in the past? Are they going to the future? I see the majority of errors coming from that. So if you can help your student also be fully present with what they're doing, it's also more enjoyable. Sometimes I get the feeling that some people wish that they were someplace else, especially kids whose parents drag them to the lesson. I'm like, look, was this your idea or was this mom and dad's? And they go, yeah. And I'm like, okay, let's just make the best of it. So, if maybe by the end you're going to like this, you take 2 or 3 lessons or whatever it is. And by the end, if you don't like it, then I'm just going to let your parents know this is not for you. So, we want to have that balance of giving them the bona fide experience so that they can decide. We don't want to give up early, and we don't want to pander to them or become their babysitter. But at the same time, we have to recognize that not everything's for everyone, and be honest. And, generally that's easier to do when you've already got a pretty full clientele. So if your clientele is not full and you're not surviving as much as you need to, then don't give up too early. All right. Those of you who are at a conference right now, go and really tune completely into the person that you're talking to. They will really appreciate that, I'm sure. And look for people who are the same. And then if you see that person that you would really desperately like to talk to, but they're not giving you their full attention, let it go. So, all right. So it's practical neuroscience number 2. Be fully present with each other, with the work that you're doing, privately as you work on your mind, all those things. And then what'll happen is your brain plasticity will improve to give you more ability to concentrate for longer periods of time and to be fully present more often and better. All right. So if you enjoyed this, share it out if you like. Hit the like button. Please subscribe and leave me some comments. I'd love to be able to respond.